I can't see my notes on here, so I'm just kind of winging it. So stay with me, please. Our agenda, we're gonna do a little intro. I'm gonna do a brief little bit on talking books. I'm gonna talk about e-card and website, ebooks and audiobooks, and then Andy, who is our digital librarian, is gonna share some information with you about databases and a couple of other things. And we're gonna try and fill you in on all of this information in 50 minutes. So who's talking? I'm Holly, and that's me with the dinosaur, not with the beard. I'm a former teacher. I was a children's librarian for about 7 years. Currently, I'm working as a statewide services assistant, which means I get to do a lot of really cool stuff, like with our website and our marketing, and I get to help a lot of people with our borrowing materials. And Andy, do you want to jump in and tell people about yourself? Okay.
Sure. So this is my first library job. So I don't really have much of a history to talk about. I just worked in offices before that and then figured out that libraries are where I belong. Other than that, I'm a dad. I love to listen to podcasts and play guitar, and I love audiobooks because I don't have much of an attention span.
So that's who's going to be talking to you today. I want to touch briefly on our Talking Books division in case you guys have not heard about them before. It's an amazing organization, and they're part of the state library in Kansas, but every state in the U.S. has a Talking Books department. Ours is celebrating its 50th year of service this year, and we had a really fun celebration this summer. But any resident that is physically or visually impaired and they can't hold a book, they can't see the book, or they need a larger type. They have digital materials. They also have physical materials, but digital seems to be the way it's going. They even have currency readers, and they can just help people out with a lot of stuff. So anybody that works in schools, this is a great resource for students. If you work with elderly, or if you work with any like Kansas residents that may have some sort of I don't know if impairment is the right word, but if they're disabled and they can't read, definitely look it up. We have a link to them on our homepage, and they're so friendly and kind, and you can just send them a message and ask them about it. We have a gal, Maggie. She does phone activity, like a phone book club. She does in-person stuff sometimes. I don't know how that's going with COVID, but they do all kinds of stuff. They're amazing. So if you don't know about them, feel free to message us and ask more questions. Most of what we're going to be talking about today is about a Kansas Library e-card. If you don't have one, shame on you. You can get one at your local library. We encourage people to go to their public library or their school library to get their card, because those are going to be the places that are best able to verify that people are Kansas residents. That's really the only requirement, is that we need people to be Kansas residents to meet our contracts and things like that. But if they're active military, they can still use it anywhere that they might be deployed, anywhere in the world. I have used it like when I've been on vacation or overseas. It still works. So if you did not know that you are can be responsible for issuing cards, we have a tutorial, and I'll show you where that is. But if you go to our homepage and you look at the librarians tab, I don't know if you guys can see my mouse, but right here under this Kansas Library e-card, there's an admin login for librarians, and there's all of this stuff down here. Or you can go straight to this redirect. It's KSLC, that stands for Kansas Library Card Admin. And you can access all of these things too. And so under that, this is where you go and you log in as an administrator to create cards. If you don't have any clue what we're talking about and you had no idea you could log in and create these things, over here on the left side of that page is going to be where you want to go. It says need login information for your library. You can click on that, fill it out, send it to us. Any school librarians, we've started using a district login, so you don't have to have one for each individual school. Each individual librarian does not need to have one. So also, if you are in a big library system like Wichita, they have multiple branches, and they just have one login, so they can use that at any of the branches. It's pretty helpful to just streamline it that way.
Holly, we've got a question here in the chat.
Okay.
Lisa asks, do you recommend that our students have an e-card? I thought that if you were a Kansas resident, it somehow would authenticate your IP address, but I know from experience that doesn't always work.
I would recommend everybody get a card. And we'll touch on that a little bit, I think, especially when Andy gets to databases. If you want to borrow any of the ebooks and audiobooks, you're gonna need a library card. And it's supposed to work where most of our resources, if you do have a Kansas internet provider, it should authenticate for you. But we're finding that that's not always the case. So having that login is just kind of a backup. It really helps. But if you are a school librarian and you have, 2,000 students and you're like, oh my God, I cannot make 2,000 cards, you can deputize some of your classroom teachers. Like a lot of the times, English teachers will help out. And so you can share your admin login and have them register their students, their homeroom students, or somebody like that. If you get into the habit of just doing your freshmen, then it makes it a lot easier because then you don't have as many students. And then and that we cover. I think it's been a while since I've been through this tutorial, but I think we cover it in here also. If I am going too fast, also let Andy know. I'm a little bit of a chatter, and I'm trying to get through it all.
Lisa has a follow-up question.
Okay, Lisa.
Do we have to have parents' permission to issue cards to students?
No, we don't do that in the public libraries, at least the ones I've worked in. But you may want to discuss it with your district administrators just in case, because they will have access to all of the materials on all of our platforms. And so there are books with adult content. There are there are articles on all kinds of stuff in our databases. So I haven't had any complaints about it. That doesn't mean somebody won't. And so it's just kind of covering your bases, and depending on who your service population is, you may want to take a little bit of caution with that, or at least give them a heads up that the kids have access to this. It's just like any other library. A kid can walk in and check out a rated R movie, or an adult book. And so it's really should be the responsible of the parents to monitor what their kids are getting into, but it's a little bit harder when it's a digital platform. So just use your best judgment on how you choose to issue, and make people aware of what's available. So this tutorial is available on that admin page, and I'll show you where you can find it again in a minute. But it goes through all of the steps that you need. It answers, I think, all of the questions. And if it doesn't, you can always email us. We have our email on here. You can also find promotional materials for your library. We just started an ad campaign to help with the awareness of the Kansas Library e-card. And these are available. I know these two are, I don't remember if I have this other fast facts poster available, but it will be by the end of the day. But you can print these out. This middle one is very large. It can go, I don't know, I think 11 by 18 or 17 maybe, I can't remember. And then the one on the left side is a regular letter size, and it has some information there, and it takes you to this get e-card page that has sort of condensed the information about that. So when you get your Kansas Library e-card, on our homepage, we have a library card login up in the upper right. This is going to be different than where you log in with your admin. So also, if you have trouble logging in with your admin, you'll want to make sure you're not logged in as a regular patron. And over here on the left side, you can see we've got digital book e-lending, online resources. Here's the Talking Books link I was telling you about, and our staff directory. So if you ever have any questions, you can get on there and pretty much find anybody, or you can use our Ask a Librarian feature. Well, yeah, you don't want to call us because we're still working from home. But this tutorials tab is also a great thing that I'm going to show you. What you need to know about issuing library cards or helping people use the state library is that you don't have to know everything. We've got over here, like if you go to our homepage under Kansans, we have instructions for all of the devices. Andy has put all of this stuff together. I think it's amazing. There's so much stuff on here, and we try to keep it as updated as possible. If any of you guys are school librarians, or if you have kids in school, or you have kids coming to your library and they've got Chromebooks, we've got how to use it on Chromebooks. We've got iPads, all of that stuff. We've got it by service or by device. This is going to be like your best friend if you're new to this, and you are going to have a lot of older people usually come in and be like, I don't know how to use this. This will tell you exactly what you need to do. You can also go back to this tutorials tab. It has stuff for our audiobooks. It's got our cloud library ebooks. It's got Freeding. It's got all of our most major databases. Sorry. My phone was going off with a reminder that we're supposed to be having our staff meeting right now, but all of our staff is already here. So, but we have a lot of tutorials here. If you guys find that we don't have a tutorial on something that you need to know how to use, you can always let us know, and we can look for one or create one to help you guys out. This is on our public side, but we also have like, I don't remember if you go to categories or if you have to click on the main thing, but we have some tutorials that are just for librarians too, to help with customer service, or I think we have one on collection development or weeding or something. There's a lot of different tutorials in there that are library specific for you. Okay, my favorite stuff. Our ebook collections right now, these are the three platforms that we're using. We have Cloud Library. This is like our big one. We have our popular books are on here. We have a lot of kids books. There's a lot of great teen books, tons of nonfiction. And so if you've ever used a digital platform, it's pretty similar to all the other ones that I've used. It's easy to borrow. And you can, I'll get to the next thing in a minute. Reading is a little bit different. You have to download the app, and then you have to also have an Adobe account, but there are instructions for all of that. And you only get, I think that it's still only 5 checkouts per week, and you get a rollover. But I find lots of interesting stuff on Reading. Some of it's real popular, and some of it's kind of obscure. And then our Inky library has a lot of, there's a lot of self-published stuff on here. And just because it's self-published doesn't mean it's not good. I find a lot of kind of fun stuff. I have a friend that is in Topeka, and she self-publishes, and I found one of her things on here, which was kind of cool. Apparently there's some Dark Horse graphic novels on there. There's reference materials. And the nice thing about this is that some of them have unlimited copies. So if you're in a book group, or you want to read the same thing as your kid, you guys want to find something, you might be able to find something and you can read it simultaneously. We have books for youth material. We have Britannica eStacks. This is going to be nonfiction, which is great because usually, I mean, I find like a lot of my boys loved nonfiction. And so you can find a lot of that here. You can find a lot of school content on Britannica, and it's nice because we also have the Britannica online, so you can find resource materials there too, which Andy will tell you about. We have Scholastic Book Flicks, which I love, love, love. It pairs a picture book with a nonfiction book. So this is great for beginning readers or early readers. There's no school license on these, but students could use them in their free time, but they wouldn't be appropriate for use in a lesson where you're expecting all the kids to use that at the same time. One other fun thing about the Scholastic Book Flicks is that our Kansas Reads to Preschoolers book is going to be on Book Flicks, and that's going to start in November. So you can go to our website or Facebook and find more information on that. And then the last one we have on here is Unite for Literacy, and this is actually not a state library provided resource, but it's great because it narrates in various languages. I think all of the text or most of the text is still in English, but my mom teaches out in Western Kansas, and she's had kids from lots of different areas, and so she's been able to help some of them with their learning skills by having books narrated in their native language, and then being able to follow along with the text in English and help them increase their reading skills. So, and then we no longer have a subscription to Tumble Books. If you guys are familiar with that, we, at the beginning of the pandemic, back in the spring, they had opened it up to us for free access, but they shut that down, so we don't have that anymore, in case you're looking for that. And then, this is our big thing today. I think we sent it out on email, but this is our big announcement that things are going to change. Our RB platform is getting transferred to Cloud Library. So this is going to happen December 2nd is when it will be completed. The RB Digital Company has been merged with Overdrive, and they've decided to discontinue the RB Digital platform. So one of the good things that's going to happen from this is that now our 2 biggest digital collections are going to be on one platform. So it's going to be one app that you have to access. There's only one login. You don't have to make a separate registration in RB Digital and then have people confused and forget how to do it. And then you have no idea how to do it. And then they have to contact RB. It'll be so much easier. And so I'm really very excited about this because I'm a massive RB Digital fan. So, and Andy could tell you more about that if you're interested. Andy, one thing real quick, did you happen to start recording this?
I did.
Oh, thank goodness.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to let Andy take over now. He can tell you all about online databases. And then
Yeah.
if you guys have questions, keep putting them up in the chat and we'll be happy to answer them for you. Oops.
Thanks, Holly. So the databases, you might hear them referred to in a few different ways. Databases, of course, online resources, skill builders. We have a few different names for them, and that's just because they aren't just article databases anymore. These are multimedia databases that have video, images, as well as articles, and other things like tests, ebooks, the list goes on. So you can actually find those databases on several different pages. The first one is from our homepage. If you click online resources down here on the left-hand side where the red arrow is pointing, that takes you right to the database page. You can also get there directly or link to it from your library's page if you like, with this URL up here. And that takes you to the database page, which is shown here on the right-hand side of this slide. Oh. Yeah, okay, there we go. Sorry, getting the handle on these Zoom controls. Oh, thanks. So there are two age-specific database pages as well. You can access those on the right-hand side of the database page. We've got Research for Kids. These are just a handful of resources that are geared toward an elementary age audience. This includes Bookflix, Explore for Kids, Britannica, things like that. And then there's a wider range of resources available on the student research page. They're geared toward a middle to high school age audience. And you can get to those from that database page. Having trouble controlling the screen here. There we go. And then as Holly mentioned, backup access is available with your Kansas State Library card. If you or your patrons ever click on any of those links and it takes you to a login page, you would just log in with your library card, and then it takes you to pretty much a copy of that database page. But instead of trying to verify your location through your IP address like those other links do, these ones take you right to the database page. And if you scroll to the bottom of this page, it also has links to those student resource and Research for Kids pages. So those are accessible both in front of the library card wall and behind it. So you can access those remotely as well. In addition, I want to, before I get into any of the specific vendors, I want to make sure that you're aware that we are available to help you connect any of our databases to your library's website. So if it's just as simple as giving you the URLs to put on your own website, we can easily do that to link your patrons directly to our databases. And they would then go through the filter that sees if they're from Kansas, if they're accessing from Kansas, and let them in that way. There are also a bevy of other options, other authentication options. We can go through Easy Proxy. We can have them verify that they're a patron by inputting their library card barcode. And there are several other options. So If you're interested in that, just send us an email. We've got information on it on our website and are working on tutorials to cover all of those options. But for right now, probably emailing us and just letting us know what you're interested in connecting to is the best way to get that process started right now. The other great thing about connecting directly to any of those databases is that a lot of the vendors offer local statistics for those connection options. So say we get a link set up on your library's webpage to connect your patrons and verify them through their library card number. That vendor can then also usually give you the local statistics. Sorry, I got distracted by Lisa's question here. Yes, so she's asking, when we say us, do you mean the department or the two of us? I mean kslc@ks.gov. That's probably the best way to get a hold of us. We'll include both our individual email addresses and that one here at the end of the slideshow. And Holly just put it there in the chat. When I say us, I'm generally talking about statewide services. So that's Holly, Jeff, Rhonda, and myself. Let me go back a couple slides here because I accidentally advanced them. Holly, I'm having trouble going back. Could you go back a couple slides for me? It only lets me advance them for some reason. One more. Okay, there. So as I was saying though, vendors can get you local statistics and help you boost your personal numbers at your library and show that students are using the databases that you connect to. Our first vendor that I'm going to talk about is Britannica. This is Encyclopedia Britannica. There are lots of different versions that you have access to through the state library. There's the public library version that has 3 main levels: the children's level, young adults, and the reference center. So when you click on that public link, it's going to take you to a page where you can directly choose which encyclopedia you're interested in searching and search it right from that page. There's also the academic version that takes you directly to the general audience, the one that is labeled Reference Center there on the screenshot. Britannica School is a highly popular resource that breaks things down into elementary, middle, and high school age grade levels into 3 different encyclopedias, and you can link directly to the Britannica School page that gets you to a search page that's similar to the one shown here, but instead of children, young adults, and reference center, it says elementary, middle, and high school. And the coolest thing about Britannica School to me is what's shown here in the inserted slide screenshot here that's pretty colorful with a lot of green there. The cool thing there is that you can switch between grade levels within an article. So say you have a student who is in high school and accesses an article within the high school database, but finds that the language in the article is a little above their comprehension level. They can easily, within that same interface, click level 2 and take it down a level and find something that's more comprehensible to them. And then finally, the other 2 versions of the Britannica database that we have access to are Britannica Escolar, which is the Spanish language version of Britannica School, and Britannica Moderna, which is the Spanish language version of the general audience encyclopedia. EBSCO is by far our largest vendor. Explora is probably if you're familiar with any of these, Explora is probably the main database that you've used. It's kind of a discovery engine that plugs you into and allows you to search lots of different databases at one time. That's where most of our EBSCO databases live, are behind those Exploras. So you might not directly be accessing something like master file or the military and government collection, but by using an Explora, you can search all those databases at once. It's really a discovery engine. And you can check out what's behind each of the Exploras: the Explora Public Library, Explora Academic, Explora Teacher Resources. You can learn what databases are searched by each of those Exploras from the librarian tab on our website under online resources. And the age-specific resources that we have, such as Explora Elementary, Middle, and High School, rest assured that those focused health database that provides medical information, drug and medication info, facts on diseases, conditions, and even surgeries. Novelist Plus, you're probably familiar with if you do any sort of reader's advisory activities. That's where you can get read-alikes, lists of books that are similar to the ones that you're interested in, full series lists, as well as other reader's advisory material. Read It is relatively new. It provides adapted reading material that's also indexed by Lexile level and includes comprehension tests, as well as research assistance, guides, and articles. The Small Business Reference Center is a stalwart item in our collection. It provides all sorts of business resources, including the NOLO law books and lots and lots of forms. And then Auto Repair Source is your one-stop shop for all kinds of maintenance and repair information on your vehicle. You just plug in the year, make, and model, and then it pulls up a whole list of systems in your vehicle that you can then browse to find the information that you're looking for, whether it be labor times, instructions on how to complete a repair, or the specific part number that you need. There we go. Infobase is another big vendor that we have. World News Digest is the first resource from them that I'll talk about. It provides kind of a snapshot about how issues have evolved and been covered in the news over time. And its coverage goes back to the 1940s. And we've got kind of a subset here, the World Almanac Online. And we did that for a reason, because at the end of the year here, Infobase will be putting all of the information, all of the resources for World Almanac Online into World News Digest. So those two resources will kind of be merging, and consequently the World Almanac Online will no longer be available as a separate resource. And you can learn more about how that's going to work and how that information will be absorbed into World News Digest. On November 19th, we've got a webinar planned. So just keep an eye on the listserv. We've got it published on our website, but we'll be putting out more information about that over the listservs coming up soon. Issues and Controversies is a popular pro-con database that provides information on both sides of all sorts of arguments on 700 different topics. It's also got debate prep material and debate videos. Ferguson's Career Guidance Center provides assistance on finding jobs and pursuing a career. It's got a lot of articles as well as quizzes to help patrons find what kind of industry they might be interested in getting involved with. The Health Reference Center is a comprehensive reference source on health topics. Today's Science is a newer resource that we actually just got access to this year since World Almanac is going away. We procured this one. It provides, tries to bridge the gap between science as it's taught in the classroom and the science that students read and hear about in the news. And then Bloom's Literature provides access to author biographies, literary criticism, and also an all-encompassing section on Shakespeare's works. All the plays are in there, as well as lots of resources to learn about the background of the plays and help students to study those plays. Many of the info-based resources also have robust and really high quality video collections that you can show in the classroom to your students. For instance, World News Digest has some archival footage of how different issues were covered. Issues and Controversies has hundreds of debate videos. Ferguson's has career Q&A videos where people can go on there and find the career that they think they might be interested in and watch about a 15-minute video of somebody who does that job being interviewed about the day-to-day reality of that job. The Health Reference Center has lots of good videos, including an entire collection geared toward teens. Today's Science has some kind of news digest, news highlights to connect that science that students are learning to the science that's hyped up in the news. And then Bloom's Literature, in addition to interviews with authors and critical material, there are also entire performances that are available in video format on Bloom's, including plays and a few movies. Learning Express is the first in what we call our skill builders. It's really a learning platform. It's got practice tests and quizzes that you can choose to have timed or untimed. There are lots of tutorials on a range of subjects, including things like Excel and Word. There are also downloadable ebooks there. Some of the most popular things are tests on nursing, the ASVAB, the Armed Services Entry Exam, ACT and SAT prep exams, and the Postal Workers exams. And there are also books that assist patrons in studying for those exams. Universal Class is pretty similar to Learning Express in that it's a learning database, but Universal Class offers access to actual online courses, over 500 in total. And patrons can choose to either take those courses as video courses, where they just learn at their own pace, go through the videos as they see fit. There are no assignments in that case, and consequently no continuing education credits can be earned. The other way, though, that they can choose to take courses is in the continuing education format, where it's more of an actual online course with other students who are also taking the course with you and with an actual instructor. And those include actual assignments and exams, and of course, ultimately the opportunity to earn continuing education credits. Universal Class is accredited by the International Association for Continuing Education and Training. However, before you embark on a course that you plan to get credit for, we recommend that you get approval from your accrediting body and your employer. Mango is our language learning platform. It includes English courses for English speakers in 72 different languages, as well as English courses for speakers of 21 different languages. It's also got kind of fun special modules that are there are travel modules, as well as Spanish for librarians and Oktoberfest in German. There's also Mango Premiere, which has videos and movies in the languages that you might be studying, with subtitles that can be either in that language or in English, to just help you engage with learning that new language in a different way. ProQuest is a vendor that provides Heritage Quest to us. That's our top genealogy resource. This is where you'll find census records, access to family histories, as well as city directories. Then Fold 3 is a newer resource that provides military records, and it's another really popular resource for genealogy. And then, kind of on a different note, is US Newsstream. That's where you can get up-to-date access to things like the New York Times, the Washington Post, Chicago Tribune, and other big papers like that in text format. And then we also have access to some nursing material in the form of Nursing and Allied Health Source. That's an article database geared toward nurses. And then there's also 2 collections of nursing videos. Now, all of those collections over there are mostly used by nursing school instructors and students, but are available to a general audience. Our Gale resources are a little bit different than any of the others we've spoken about. These are these are scanned ebooks that are searchable. They don't download, but can be used in sections. So the first collection is called Genealogy Connect. It includes family histories, local histories, as well as some how-to kind of getting books to assist patrons in getting started on their genealogical search. Kansas History is a very unique resource. It provides primary documents from the territorial years, 1854 to 1865, including government documents, as well as things like personal letters from that time period. And then the Virtual Reference Librarian is a collection of reference ebooks, mostly on health topics. And the last vendor we'll talk about is Sage. Sage Knowledge here is pretty similar to those Gale books, those Gale resources, in that they are scanned, searchable ebooks, mostly on topics related to social science, but also criminology and government topics. Sage Stats is a great tool for data analysis. It allows patrons to dial down to specific zip codes, cities, counties, and states on topics ranging from crime to transportation. US Political Stats is very similar, but it's focused on providing government and election data. And both of these resources allow patrons to download charts and even entire data sets. And the nice thing about each of those statistical resources is that if you know how to use one, then it's pretty easy to transfer that knowledge to using the other one. Then we've compiled a list here of all the Spanish language databases we have. As I spoke about, we have 2 that are from Britannica, the school one and the one geared toward more general audience. We've got an EBSCO database that's in Spanish called Fuente Académica. There's an entire module in Learning Express that's for Spanish speakers. We've also got English for speakers, for Spanish speakers over on Mango, and 2 health resources that are in Spanish, Medic Latina and Medline. As I mentioned briefly on the info-based slide, we do have a webinar coming up. We try to spread these webinars out throughout the year, but what with the pandemic, we've kind of gotten behind a little bit, but we are trying to catch up and provide up-to-date information for you. We've got several webinars coming up here in November. We're planning and we'll soon be announcing a webinar that should take place sometime next week to make you aware of everything you need to know related to the audiobook transfer and the marketing that we've been doing. So stay tuned on the listserv for information about that. Then on November 10th, we've got an info-based trainer that'll be calling in to give us a rundown of how to use today's science. And then on November 19th, that trainer will be back to show us World News Digest and how they've incorporated the World Almanac online information into that resource. You can find all of the information about those trainings on our training page, kslib.info/training, or if you just go to statewide services and then click on training, you can see the schedule, and you can also find links to the recordings of past webinars. So if you ever never fret if you miss a live webinar. We always record those and make those available on that training page. And finally, we wanted to give kudos to our reference and cataloging section. As Holly mentioned in the chat, we've got KGI, which is the Kansas Government Information Catalog. That catalogs all sorts of information going way back in Kansas governmental agencies. We've also got our reference desk that you can chat with on our website or ring up on the phone. And they are kind of the reference librarian's reference librarian. They're there to answer your questions and sort of provide assistance with anything you're stumped on. They also provide reference services to the general public, as well as legislators and their staff and state agencies. And as I mentioned, there are our email addresses. Definitely jot those down, but they're also available on our website. And if you have any questions about anything or want to get connected to those resources, connect them to your website, let us know. But with that, we'll open it up to questions. If anybody wants to unmute and ask away.
Well, thanks for joining us, everybody. If you don't have any questions. I also want to be sure that if you didn't notice the legislative hotline message that we have on here. We have this legislative hotline. So if you guys have questions about any legislation, you can call that. I think you can leave messages for legislators, and I'm sure that they will cover some of this in the next session because it's super awesome.
And we've got a question there in the chat.
I'm guessing that we can, I know that they're going to put the recordings of these on a YouTube, but I think we'll probably also make sure that we have our slides from this presentation on our website in our training section.
That's correct, yeah. And we'll also have them available on the KLA website. I know there's a Google Drive that's being set up for that.
And if you have any questions about it, just email Andy or I, and we can chat with you and answer any questions you had about the resources.
Yeah. Oh, Lisa's got one more question. Do you see it there, Holly?
Which poster do you want to customize? The legislative one? Lisa, just email me because I probably have, the teacher resource one. Yeah, just email me and I'll send you my file.
Well, thanks so much for showing up your session today.
Andy just turned into a cyborg. We're gonna go so we can let the next group come in and get set up. But again, if you have any questions, please email us or message us anytime. Even if it doesn't have to do with us, any library questions, send them to us and we'll do our best to help you out, okay? Thank you for coming.